started. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today on this webinar where we're going to take a deep dive into some of the CIM productivity tools, more specifically looking at some of the site design related ones. My name is Colin Gaudette. I'm one of the civil technology consultants at SolidCAD, and I'm joined with Brian Lewandowski today, the civil product manager for CTC Software. So we'll do a quick who's who is SolidCAD, and who is CTC Software, and then we'll get right into the content, deep dive into some of these tools here. So SolidCAD, we are your software reseller, but we do so much more. We're here to make you guys better in any way possible that we can through some of these areas with training, support. We do some workflow optimization for you as well, and lots of what used to be in-person events. We do a lot of online events now, and I've got a slide in here. Oops. I've got a slide in here about some of the events that we have coming up as well. We are Canada-wide, coast to coast, 15 offices and 12 training facilities, as well as a great team that stretches across Canada as well. You're looking at the pretty faces of our civil sales team. And just to follow them, we also have the civil technical team across Ontario, Nova Scotia, Quebec, and British Columbia, and stretching to meet all the provinces in between. We also have a lot of remote solutions as well. So I know this is kind of challenging times as everyone's trying to transition and integrate some remote working arrangements and things like that. Like I said before, we're here to help. Definitely reach out because we're well versed in these areas, and we've got a great technical staff that can assist you with getting set up or offering additional services, whatever the case may be. We're here to make you guys better. And along with this, here are some of our partners. So you'll see CTC right in the middle. We're best known for probably the largest partner is Autodesk, obviously, but lots of different options here, lots of different solutions that we can help find. And today we're going to deep dive into the CIM Project Suite. Like I said, we have some upcoming events, a couple on the left with regards to more of the CTC webinars and showing off some of the new tools. And you're going to get a chance to look at some of those really new powerful ones today with AutoGrader and Label Genie, followed up by deep dives later and soon to come. These are some amazing new tools, and this is the first look, the first real webinar that we've done showing these off. We've got some productivity workshops, as well as our fundamentals courses are now offered online as well, so it's definitely worth a check out. And to follow all of that up, we also have our Solid Assist technical support, whether it's licensing issues, whether it's bugs in the software. We're here to help. We're here to help with the Autodesk stuff. We're here to help with the CTC stuff, and whatever you guys need to keep your employees up and running. So CTC Software, SolidCAD is the exclusive Canadian reseller for the CTC Software Express tools. We're going to look at some powerful stuff today with regards to Civil 3D, but they also have some amazing stuff for Revit as well, both on the BIM side and then the civil information modeling side. Their civil information modeling, it's split up into their project suite and their manager suite. Their manager suite's dealing with templates, styles, any of that kind of real setup stuff. It makes it so much faster to go through and edit those things and really make a template your own. But today we're going to look at the CIM Project Suite, more particularly into the pipes and into the legends and QTOs, and showing off some of the amazing stuff that's still in beta phase that's going to come out quite soon. And with that, I'm going to switch this over to Brian, and he can take it away with the stuff that you're really here for. How does that sound, Brian?
That sounds good. Thanks, Colin. I'm just going to get my screen sharing here. All right, there we are. I trust everyone can see that. The focus today is going to be on site design projects, as Colin mentioned. So some of the categories, what we're talking about grading and corresponding earthwork. We're talking about pipe networks and better, easier ways to use those. And we're also talking about sheet production. That covers pretty much all the major categories. So grading and earthwork, what do we have to make that easier for you? Well, one of the tools that Colin mentioned that's coming out real soon, in fact, in early June, we're anticipating, it's going to revolutionize the way you guys grade your sites. Through linked feature line sets, we're going to be able to do dynamic site grading, where you get to spell out basically relationships, or what we call grading families, that perhaps say, here's a scenario here of a curb family. Think sub-assemblies for corridors, but it works in site situations, right? If you draw a gutter line, you can then define a grading family that'll automatically create and update top of curb, back of curb, flange, you name it. Think about ponds, think about all different kinds of scenarios. I'll give you a detailed preview of that. We also have another tool coming out a little further down the road that's going to automate subgrade volumes for you. And I wanted to show you a little mock-up of the interface here. You're going to be able to define different regions across your site that have different subgrade depths. It's going to automatically build those subgrade surfaces for you. You can specify cut and fill factors. It'll generate those cut and fills for you, and then it'll even automatically label and hatch that stuff, as well as allow exporting to Excel or to AutoCAD tables. So another cool tool that's coming soon. On the pipe network side, we've got a lot of tools. These are some of our most popular tools out there. First one is called Pipe Designer, and it allows you to design by pipe run. This is a no-brainer for people using pipe networks every day. I'll show you this one in detail, but basically you get to pick a run of structures and pipes. It loads it in this Excel interface, and then you can edit and mass across multiple structures and pipes. Really fast, really easy. Swapping multiple parts in plan and profile view. There's no way to do this natively in the software. You have to pick one part at a time, okay? With Part Swapper, we can pick an entire network. We can pick any selection of structures and pipes and then swap them all at once. We can also do this across all of our properties in those structures and pipes. Oftentimes things like changing a reference surface or assigning a casting or changing descriptions across parts, that kind of stuff is really tedious. You have to do it one by one part at a time. So with Parts Tagger, you can grab any set of structures and pipes and push properties that aid in labeling and tabling and all sorts of things, and just make it a lot faster. Then another one we've got coming down the road, I've got a mock-up of the interface, a very universal and flexible tool that's going to allow you to take pipe or pressure networks and export them to Excel. You can run analyses out there in Excel if you want. You can bring it into some other third-party analysis software. Whatever you do to that spreadsheet, you can sync it back to Civil 3D, and it'll update that pipe network. So Pipe Designer is meant for design right within the software, but if you need to take your entire network out, you can do it with this tool to Excel. And the reason we're creating this, among other things, is the XML formats and the STORM, the STORM file formats, are very limiting that we found and what we've heard from the industry. So we want to provide a more universal way to handle that. On the sheet production side, another tool that's coming out real shortly here, we're in beta testing, as Colin had mentioned, it's automatic labeling. This is going to change a ton of how you guys generate your sheets. Now, what is automatic labeling? You're going to be able to select a label type, an anchor object, where you're going to anchor on that. Here's just a screenshot of multi-line text on polylines. You can then specify AutoCAD fields that will automatically get inserted in those objects and then insert them across multiple drawings, multiple layouts at once. And this works for all AutoCAD annotation, all Civil 3D annotation. It's going to be probably the most robust universal tool we've ever made. We're super excited about it. It's coming out shortly. And then another tool we have, this is one currently in the CIM Project Suite, It's called Data Wizard, and it helps with custom legends, project-wide QTO. You can scan any number of drawings or layouts for any objects and then generate tables or graphical legends like this, all customized, all matching exactly what you have in those drawings. So I'll give you a taste of what that looks like as well. So let's jump into some of this stuff in more detail. The first one I want to show you is AutoGrader, that tool coming out shortly. And I've got a commercial site scenario here, a parking lot of example, and the red lines represent the curb lines at the gutter line. Now, normally I'd have to run stepped offsets on all these to generate additional feature lines, okay? What I can do in AutoGrader is generate a grading family. In this case, I'm going to create a parallel grading family where I can automatically create offset feature lines based on parameters I specified. So here's the grading family window. I can name this grading family. And then I spell out the 3D parameters of what we call the child feature lines as they relate to the parent feature lines. So the red feature lines are the parent ones, okay? And then the child feature lines are what we are about to create. Now, some of you may not be doing grading, site grading with feature lines. Perhaps you use Kogel points, or maybe you've tried using corridors. There's a lot of different workflows out there. What we've found is feature lines are definitely, in terms of how they work as break lines on a surface, are the ideal tool for it. The problem with them until now is they're really tedious to maintain and update, right? All that changes with AutoGrader. So whatever workflows you might have out there, I think with AutoGrader in your hand, you're going to really gravitate towards using feature lines for any of those site grading type scenarios. So here I continue to spell out parameters that define the back of curb, what side will I offset, and as I'm doing this, it gives me a visual preview, basically like a cross section of what I'm building. So here's the flange with the lip of curb. Now this is in imperial units, but it works the same in metric units. And then I can specify a layer name for which parent feature lines, the red ones in this case, that I'm going to use as the primary source. I've got control on the styling, the layering of all those child feature lines, and then finally, I need to specify what surface all these break lines are going to go into. I've got control on all the break line settings, okay? I can set all that here, and it does it all for me, okay? This is normally a really tedious process, right? Make it, draw a few feature lines, create a few Kogel points, add them to the surface, right? It's really time consuming and really clumsy. We're going to go ahead and run this, and then you see in the background all those feature lines being created. Each one of those steps there, right, that's a stepped offset manually on its own, okay? We can look at it, it's added to the surface. And what we notice is I built my curve family backwards. The beauty of AutoGrader is I can just come in here and switch these like this, from right to left or left to right or inwards or outwards, however I'm defining my grading family. And then I refresh this, and everything on the site will update accordingly. Watch that curb island in the middle there change as well as the surface respond to it, okay? That took me seconds. That would normally be tons of work to make changes or even to generate those in the first place. We can also take grading families that we've created before and save them out to a template and then load them like I did here. And when I do that, my entire pond definition for this example here is already spelled out for me. So we've got standard designs, be it curbs, ponds, you name it, right? We can load those templates from those from one project to the next so we can execute on this even quicker. You don't even have to build out these families each time. You can see all the benches and the slopes there. I'm going to run this. It's going to add all that to the same surface, generate all those feature lines. This is in real time here, and this is incredibly fast. Obviously, it's a simple scenario for demonstration purposes, but you guys get the idea. I'm going to load in another template where I've got some simple building grading around the building outline, and I'm also going to load some grading limits This is going to allow us to daylight from a base feature line out here. It's going to daylight to the existing ground, and you're going to see that happen right here as the surface rebuilds as well. There's that daylighting feature line. Okay, so we can daylight in all sorts of different ways. AutoGrader lets you do that. So everything you can do in a corridor daylighting subassembly or the grading tools, all of that's here, but it's stable and easy to use. Here I can move, if I move one of the parent or the primary feature lines, I simply refresh. I'm going to run my pond family again. It reads the parent feature line, updates everything else. So any changes you make to those parent feature lines, you simply refresh your family and it updates everything. So this is, like I said, a tool coming out really soon. It's nearly ready to go, but we want to really flesh things out through the beta testing. Let me show you a residential scenario. So what we were doing before is parallel grading families. We can also do perpendicular or template insertion. I'm going to show you perpendicular as well today. And this is where we're generating feature lines that are perpendicular from the parent feature line. In this case, we've got a right-of-way line, and I want to generate and grade out some lots. So I'm going to generate a grading family for the outside lots. I can choose that outside right-of-way line, and then I define the grade breaks along each one of those side lot lines. Okay, again, this is imperial units, but same difference for metric. I've got my parent line there. I've got my house front. You can name this stuff any way you want, whatever terminology you guys are used to. And you can define these grade breaks along that lot line. Now, this doesn't have to be subdivisions. It could be anything. Maybe you do wind farm projects and you've got pads along those service roads or anything like that where it's kind of repetitious. We can do this over and over. I've also got a create parallel column here. If I check this on for any of these grade breaks, it's going to generate a parallel feature line along that grade break point. In this case, it would be the back of our lots. So simply checking that on will create that parallel feature line. And then what intervals do I want to create these at? I can choose the width of the frontage of my lots there. I can also, you might have noticed over here, I've got grade existing. I could grade existing geometry I have. So perhaps you've laid out horizontally your lots, pretty common workflow, right? And you don't need to generate all the new feature lines, or I should say maybe you have the stations and locations. You just simply need to grade those feature lines. Okay, I'm about to create new feature lines, but you could grade existing ones as well, meaning apply this grading scenario to flat geometry that you already have out there. So I'm going to say 60 units, insert a lot line every 60 units. We can then control the layering and the styles apply to those child feature lines. Come back to the main dialog, we assign our surface, and then I go ahead and execute, and you see how quickly it makes all these 3D lot lines as well as the surface. Now I'd come in here, I had that on the wrong side, I simply flipped it from right to left, run it again, and boom, all my lots flip to the right side, okay? So depending on your site, if you guys do a lot of subdivision work, you're gonna find a lot of benefit from this as well, because it's repetitious stuff. So there's other scenarios, lots of other workflows. We're gonna do more webcasts on how to use AutoGrader in different ways and different project types. But we just wanted to give you guys a taste of what it looks like here. So I'm changing the lot depth. I can run this again. You'll see how it just updates everything, including the surface. Okay. Here's all those grade breaks and those lot feature lines. There's the back of lot feature line, all of it generated for me automatically. Okay, I just gave you a little taste of it, but lots of different ways to run that. Let's talk about some of the pipe network tools. Okay, pipe networks are great in Civil 3D because they're nice 3D parts. You've got a lot of information in them. You can just build this catalog of everything you need. But working with pipe networks, thinking them in terms of design tools, they're a little clumsy in that way. So let me show you some of the tools we have to make that a lot easier. Normally when you're changing slopes and inverts of your pipes, you have to come in and change slopes and inverts one part at a time. You can either do it in here, you can do it in the Pipe Network Vista, but it's not really an interface that leads or lends itself to how we think about gravity systems, storm and sanitary systems. I want to think in terms of from here to here. Now I'm running Pipe Designer and I'm picking the entire pipe run that I want. Now you can pick it in plan or profile. I want to design that entire pipe run at once, specifying slopes for a given range or pipe size or whatever. So I'm going to select all of those and then load this into Pipe Designer. And what I get is this really intuitive interface. It's kind of like Excel. In fact, we built it with an Excel function inside of it, but it runs within Civil 3D. So here's all my structures, here's my pipes. Notice the kind of cascading view of this structure, pipe, okay? That's the order I picked in from top down. Now I could go from right to left. I'm designing from low invert up. All kinds of scenarios and options there, whatever direction you pick in, okay? So let's do a few changes here. Let's change some of these slopes. I don't want these slopes. I can hold a negative 0.8% across all of these 600 millimeter pipes, and let's say this negative 0.5%. Now as I hit apply, watch how this changes. The entire pipe run changes, okay? By the way, what I'm showing you guys here, there's a lot of detail here. We just want to get you guys exposed to it so you know what's possible. But we have a lot of this information on the CTC YouTube site, as well as SolidCAD resources. So all kinds of on-demand videos on each specific tool and so forth. So don't worry about like taking notes or writing down a lot of details, lots of resources. We've got invert drops over here. Let's say we wanted 0.03 across all of this. I can press and drag that, assign that. I'll hit apply to that, and we'll see that take effect. Okay, that kind of editing, I mean, those of you who work with pipe networks, you know how much time that takes. Not only is it time consuming, it's really error prone too, right? What pipe am I on? What was the invert, right? It's really clumsy. Now we can design by matching inverts. We can design by matching obverts. When I do that, I get the obvert matching factor comes into play, especially when we have small pipes going into large pipes like this scenario here. Okay, I can control whether I get to edit sump or invert of my structures. Notice the gray and white columns switch. Okay, so the gray columns are calculated, the white ones are editable. And then when it comes to the pipes, I've got invert displaying here, but we could show the obvert or we could show the top of pipe, okay? I can highlight rule violations like this. I've violated, my minimum slope is violated. Okay, I can turn that on. That's reading the native rule sets that you apply to your structures and pipes. And then I have detailed control on all the columns I show. You want to see min-max cover, you want to see your structure build, description of your structures, all of that's here, and you can edit all of it in this interface as well. So that's Pipe Designer, one of the, like I said, one of the most popular tools in the suite. If you're doing pipe networks every day, it's kind of a no-brainer. It's definitely something you want to use. Let's talk about another tool. Oftentimes we're changing our design. We want to change pipe sizes, structure types, you name it. And what do we have to do? We have to pick a part one at a time and we have to swap it. But I can't even do it in profile, right? I don't even have that option here. I can only do this in plan view and only one part at a time. That's kind of silly if you ask me. Why shouldn't I be able to do this, which is to pick as many pipes and structures as I want in plan or profile all at once. So I'm going to do both in both views here to get an idea, right? So as you're working through your design, changing parts, right? You need to be able to do this, swap for different parts in your parts list. Instead of one at a time, we can do by selection like this, or the entire network. We choose our parts list, we go and choose our swap structure as well as our replacement pipe. Okay, we were at a 1000 millimeter pipe here. We had manholes instead of catch basins down here. So I'm going to hit OK to this. You'll see all this change at once. Okay, all those pipes and profile structures in plan view. Okay, that's Part Swapper. That tool, in fact, that's a free one. So a number of these tools with the light green here, these are free with the CIM Project Suite. So as you guys go and check this stuff out, everything is available in a trial mode. But the other stuff, the light green ones here, we always want to provide some free tools to the industry. So those are available to you indefinitely, free of charge. One more pipe network tool. This one's called Parts Tagger, a simple tool that helps me manage the properties across all my parts. Let's think about structures, right? We've got all these different properties here. Some of them are geometric and design based, but some of them are just information like the casting or the material or anything like that. This stuff is really handy for labeling and tabling purposes. That's in fact one of the reasons why we use pipe networks in Civil 3D, because I can generate a schedule like this and it just reads all the properties. Okay. Well, with a lot of this information, we have to change it one by one. So again, Parts Tagger, I can instead grab, say, all of my inlets. I'll do a select similar, so we'll grab all of these, okay? Then I'm going to go to Parts Tagger, and to all of those, I can change any of these properties. So you see a lot of these common fields. These are things that typically vary from one project to the next. We can change them in mass right in here. So depending on your jurisdiction, you've got different specs for different castings or grates. We could assign a surface adjustment value, sump. Okay, and what about the reference alignment? Okay, maybe that needs to change, or maybe you forgot it when you created those parts in the first place. Okay, I've got a structures tab here. I also have a pipes tab. Pipes are simpler, obviously, so we've got fewer properties there, but we can change all this stuff. So what we're not doing with Parts Tagger, we're not changing those core parts or geometry and parameters that are defined in your part catalog, okay? If you want an entirely different part, you do that in Part Builder or the new Infrastructure Parts Editor, right? But this project by project information that changes, that contributes to your plan production, that's what this tool is about. So handy little tool. If I hit OK here, you're going to see all these values for the inlets update in this table. So all that station offset shows up, the grate value I assigned there, okay? And any kind of other values you need to assign en masse to all of those parts. Okay, let's talk about sheet production. So those are some of our pipe network tools. We got that other one coming out down the road as well, that imports and exports from Excel. But let's talk about plan production a little bit more, or sheet generation. There's a lot that goes into this. In fact, we spend so much of our time on projects labeling things, annotating, generating sheets, tables, legends, all this information, right? Labeling it so we can generate a plan set for the contractor. But it's not the design part of it, right? It's not what we as engineers are here to do. So what we're trying to do is to make this process much faster for you guys. And I'm going to show you a couple of these tools. One is this Data Wizard tool, and then the other one is Label Genie. It's the one that's coming out real shortly. So Data Wizard allows me to take and scan any number of drawings to create tables, legends, quantity takeoffs, okay? So here's the first screen of Data Wizard. I can choose a current drawing, any XREFs. I can even include additional drawings. So I could scan across numerous base files in my project, and then it could tell me how many polylines of this type, or how many feature lines, or how many whatever, you name it. For quantity purposes, for legends, you name it. So this scenario I've got here, it's just one of many examples, but it's creating sheet-specific legends, right? Show me a legend that's just what's on the sheet here. Well, maybe some of you do project-wide legends, or maybe section legends, where maybe you've got, say if you've got 5 sheets of the same type, you would have one legend for that. Whatever the scenario, you can do it. I'm just going to show you a couple examples here. We're going to create a sheet-specific legend for an existing conditions sheet. I can limit this to this layout and specifically this viewport. Okay, meaning build a legend just on what you see there. If I go to the next screen, here's all the objects I can scan for. AutoCAD objects, Civil 3D objects, just about everything in here. In fact, we're going to add pipe networks coming up real soon here, but just about every other object is in here. In this case, I've got survey points, figures, and hatches. Okay, if I refresh this, it shows what is showing up. And then also I've got filtering options. I can exclude my frozen layers. Well, that makes sense for this, right? If I'm not going to print it, I wouldn't want it to show up in my legend. Then if I dive into this filter column here, I've got detailed control on layering. I've got weeding options. I'm not going to get into the weeds on this, but you have really detailed control. Whatever your standards are in terms of layers or styles or descriptions, object styles, point groups, sites, you can see all this. We can group this stuff any way we want and then build tables and legends out of them. There's a lot of this kind of stuff scattered across Civil 3D, different table type solutions or QTO solutions. None of them do it all in one place for all your objects in your drawing. So I've got survey figures, hatches here. If I go to the next screen here, it gives me a little preview of what I'm getting. I've got a sign and a tree and a catch basin showing up. Survey figures, hatches, okay. And then what information do I want to pull from it? You can see I've got the graphic column, okay. I want a legend. That means it's going to show the actual visualization, the symbol itself or the hatch pattern itself in the legend. And then the layer description. But we could pull anything we want from these objects. The layer name, the raw description, areas, line types, there's QTO information, volumes, parcel information, northing and easting, okay? All kinds of different tabulations we can do. It fills in all those gaps of all those limitations you guys have for tabulations, legends, QTO across the software. Let's go to the final screen here. I've got formatting options, the size of the cells, perhaps the title I want here, okay? And then what you may have noticed in the bottom left here, the whole time there's a Save Template button. So everything I specified in here, these different filter options and so forth, I can save this out so that I can use this on another project. So we'll save this out and we'll call it our EG sheet template, or excuse me, sheet legend. That's what we're creating here. Now all these settings here, they were saved out. And so I can load it again next time I need it when I'm generating this kind of legend. But it could be anything, like I said, QTO. So let's hit finish. We're going to use the table style called PS Legend. It's just a standard AutoCAD table we're going to create and insert it on my sheet. Okay, and it reads exactly what I have in my drawing. It scales to the viewport, right? Look at the hatch patterns. Look at the line type scaling. It's matched over here. Okay, now the trees, those have a variable size across that because we're doing some scaling in the key set. Okay, this takes the default size in the point style. The beauty of this is everything is dynamic, meaning if something changes, there's a layer change, or maybe there's more information that came in to the project, right? If I made a change like that, remember I told it to exclude layer filters. Let's come back here. We're going to do update table. I'll go and pick this table here. It's going to update the table selected and then read from the table itself. So the parameters I used to generate that are saved to that AutoCAD table. Hit OK. and now we should expect to see the building hatching disappear, right? Okay, the time savings are huge, right? Let's make another one quick. Remember, I saved out that template. I've got another sheet here. I can run setup table again, and now I can simply browse out here to that template, that Data Wizard template, that EG sheet legend. And the only change I have is a different layout and a different viewport. But everything else stays the same. I can just click through this, generate my legend for this sheet. And you can see it's different. I've got some storm pipe in there, a building face line showing up right there. Okay. This is simply an AutoCAD table. These are not proprietary objects that don't work in your drawings if you don't have these tools installed. Okay, all we do across all of our tools is automate the process of generating native objects that you guys are used to working with. So as an AutoCAD table, right, you can format it any way you want after the fact. The borders you see on here, you don't want borders. Okay, that's all just in your AutoCAD table style. Okay, let me show you one other quick scenario of Data Wizard, and then I'll move on and I'll show you the final tool is the label Genie, which is going to be just the coolest tool we have. So that's why I saved that one for last. So here's a QTO scenario of a site, kind of like that site we were grading. And what I've got in here is AutoCAD objects, Civil 3D objects, a variety of different things, feature lines, hatches, you name it. All of this contributes to our QTO. I'm going to scan the current drawing, but we could add more drawings if we wanted. I'm going to look for blocks and feature lines and hatches. If we go to the next screen here, here's my result, my scan result, basically. What did I get? And then because it remembers previous settings, it's already got these here, but I could go in here and change what I'm extracting from these objects. Okay, again, we see all these options again. There's also something else I want to show here. There's an additional data checkbox. So some of you might be thinking, well, yeah, layer description and quantities, that's great, but what about all my custom properties? What do I mean by custom properties? If you have attributes in your blocks and you want to extract that, we can pull that. If you have user-defined properties in your survey or COGO points or your parcel objects, we can extract that. If you have GIS object data, or if you have Civil 3D property sets, okay? So all those custom property types, not the hard-coded ones that Civil 3D already has in those objects, but the custom ones you might make, we can extract all of that information as well. Finally, here's the formatting option. I'm not going to generate an AutoCAD table. I want to go to Excel with this, so I can specify my path in an Excel file name, and I hit finish to this. I think I've got all the settings right. Quantifies all my overhead lights, length of curb and gutter, area of seating, you name it. All of that comes through in Excel in whatever format you want. So anyway, dozens of use cases for Data Wizard. It's becoming one of the most popular tools in the suite, and it's one I'm real excited about. It's one we actually partnered with a longtime customer and kind of co-developed it together. So this stuff is really industry tested and approved by daily Civil 3D users like yourselves. So. Let's look at that last tool, Label Genie, the one I was talking about. Here I've got a scenario where I've got a subdivision and I simply want to label what? I've got a lot of things to label. I've got line and curve labels. And whether this stuff is parcels or maybe you guys just draw this stuff out with polylines, those of you doing subdivision work. But that's just one example here. It could be anything, right? Labeling hatches across your site. Maybe you use parcels for this, maybe you don't because they're really kind of clumsy to work with. What we're going to do is we're going to take 3 drawings here with multiple layouts in each, and we're going to label every line and curve segment in here at once. That seems like a big ask. We're talking thousands of labels at once. That's what this tool is about. So let me launch Label Genie here. I can choose my drawing sources. I've got my current drawing and then 2 additional drawings. I can limit this stuff to layouts, or I can just label all of model space, you name it. And then I choose the label type I want. In this case, I'm going to do line and curve labels on polylines, and I'm going to anchor it to segments of those polylines. Finally, I've got formatting options where I can choose my line and curve label styles. Then I'm going to click Add Update Labels here, and this is going to execute across multiple drawings, across hundreds and hundreds of polylines at once, all showing up at once, okay? I can filter it by layering, you name it. So looking at these other drawings, you see it showing up in every layout, okay? That's just one example. We have over 100 labeling scenarios built into Label Genie. Let's do one more of them here. Let's take something as simple as M-text, right? Civil 3D labels are decent. They're really nice. They read the objects, but we're just putting M-text out there for a lot of things. And it's a manual process. Even if you insert an AutoCAD field in an M-text, you got to do it one by one. What if in this scenario here, you want to just simply label the center of all these polylines, the centroid of it, and label the area of it, right? That would be incredibly tedious if you're using parcel objects. Unless you were using parcel objects, but those come with their own challenges. So we want to make it flexible and easy for you guys. So here I can spell out a custom field to be inserted into the M-text entity. I can put in custom text and then actually pull the field. This is an AutoCAD field that's going to automatically insert into every M-text object and read the polyline it gets inserted into. I mean, this is not rocket science, right? This is M-text on polylines, yet this is a huge pain in the butt in the software, right? So we're going to automate it here. I've got control on my text heights, my styles, okay, the width of the text entity, capitalization, you name it. I'm going to go and add this, and it reads the area from every single object, inserts the M-text in there, okay? I wanted to show you guys some basic scenarios here because I know you guys get the pain of just putting some M-text out there or simple line and curve labels. Let's take something else like just calling out with M leaders, simple objects in our drawing. I can specify M leaders on polylines. I can apply it to the centroid. Then I can just put in some hard-coded text here. Just call out retaining wall. Okay, instead of copying and pasting, inserting that everywhere across every layout and drawing, I can just add these all at once based on some layer selection, object type selection, and those labels come in all at once. Now, obviously, got to jump in. You might have some drag state tweaking to do, but we're automatically inserting the vast majority of all your labels for you at once. So really cool tool. Like I said, it's coming out real soon in early June. We're just in beta testing right now, and they will be added to the CIM Project Suite. And before we go to questions, and by the way, go ahead and type any questions you guys have into the GoToWebinar system. And then Colin and I will address those live right here. But as we add tools to the CIM Project Suite, some of you probably own the CIM Project Suite now. As this stuff comes out, you simply grab the new installer, run it, and you get the new tools. You don't have to pay for the new products or anything like that. They just come into the suite, you run the new installer, you get the new tools. So we want to make it really easy for you guys. Distribution of this stuff, you can enterprise deployment stuff, there's network licensing, standalone licensing, you name it, all kinds of options. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Colin. He's going to walk us through any questions that might have come in during the presentation.
That's great, Brian. Thanks a lot. Great presentation. We didn't have too many questions. A couple of them regarding wondering if these are going to be posted on YouTube. So for anyone who was wondering that, I did put links in the answer column to both the CTC software YouTube page as well as the SolidCAD software YouTube page. It'll be in both. I did have another question asking if the AutoGrader and Label Genie, if they're going to start being released in 2021 Civil. This is CIM Project Suite tools. These are to come in the next release of the CIM Project Suite. Here's one that I can maybe pass off to you though, Brian. A question asking if we can label surface elevations at lot corners.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was one scenario I hadn't shown you. But spot elevation labels, yeah, that's one that's really tedious. You simply want to insert them at key vertices on lot lines, curb lines, you name it. We're going to be able to do that. You can specify the surface that it anchors to, and then the objects, be it polylines, feature lines, you name it, that you want to insert them at, and then you'll have control on where they insert, starts, ends, vertices, PCs, PTs, all of that kind of thing. So lots of control there. And then Colin, just to follow up, I'm not sure if there was confusion if these will be in the new version of Civil 3D. They're not in Civil 3D per se, the standard install. They're part of the CIM Project Suite install. So these are separate plugins that come from SolidCAD and CTC that you install on top of Civil 3D. They don't run in native Civil 3D.
Thanks for the clarification. Yeah, you almost make this look too easy with running through some of these tools, and that we didn't really highlight maybe some of the help or the support or the videos that you can access within each of these. So as you're integrating into your workflows, maybe Brian can kind of take it away here.
Yeah, if I open up Data Wizard here, and in fact, in any tool, you click on the Help button, and the user guide opens. It gives me detailed information on that tool, explaining exactly what each function does, common workflows, how to use it. Okay, there's a videos button right in here. Okay, so maybe you just got the CIM Project Suite and you're like, no, that Data Wizard thing looked pretty cool. How again do I use this? Maybe you don't like documentation. Maybe you want videos. Click the videos button. It'll bring you right to the CTC software website and give you intro as well as detailed instructional videos relating to that tool. There's a support button here. Okay, you click on that, it'll route you right through SolidCAD support. You just simply click Canada. That support comes right through SolidCAD's technical team, and then CTC works with them as needed as well. The About menu, I'll point out one other thing here. Obviously, simple About type information, but you can also download the latest installer. You simply click on this, brings you to a direct download link, gives you the latest version, right? So when Label Genie and AutoGrader come out, of course, you want to get your hands on those. Simply click that, download the new one, run the installer. It'll pull the old one off, put the new one on. So lots of resources available right within the applications themselves.
Okay, I've got one more question that just popped up, and it may require maybe a follow-up email asking if these productivity tools can help point creation for foundation plans that have pile locations. Can we automate some of that? So I think I might be setting you up here. We may have to follow up with you.
Yeah, I'd certainly like to follow up with you, Martin, to understand a little bit more what you're after. Is this, for staking out foundations or pile locations, you're trying to get staking points? Is this grading workflows? Why don't we follow up with him after the fact, Colin?
Sounds like a plan, yeah. With that, we've kind of reached the end of the questions. I can kind of talk a little bit and see if any more come in. In the chats panel, I've posted links to both the SolidCAD training page, training calendar, as well as the events calendar. If you have any more, if you're kind of have an inkling to get into any more of this training or things like that, We have both events and actual paid training engagements, free content and paid content sort of thing. And I've also added the link in the chat for if you're looking to download either the free tools, the trial of the full project or management sim suites, or whatever the case. It's all in the chat as well through the SolidCAD partner products. With that, I think we can kind of wrap this up here. Thank you so much, Brian, for showing off these crazy tools. And I'm excited to get some feedback on people who have had the chance to try them all out.
Great. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Excellent. And again, this will be posted on YouTube pages in the coming week. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a great, safe rest of your week.